gonna be the very best, like no one ever was.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Pixelmon Server. Today we're going to be jumping into how to regulate the Pokemon on a route. As you can see behind me, I have expanded our little build here from just Little Root Town out into Route 101. And here, let's go take a look at that. So as you come in, got the grass areas set up here. And down here, this first grassy area with that blue flower right there, we've already got a spawner set up. And so, here somewhere, there he is. I guess we weren't close enough for it to go first. It does have a spawn tick of 40. I hear, oh, there he is. As you see, we've got ourselves a Rattata. It isn't native to here, and we're going to talk about that when we get into the next one, but it is a level 3 to go coincide with our starter that was level 5. One more and we should get it, and then we'll talk about how to set up the next set. Oh, my Trico's level 6. Awesome. Okay, so we're going to go into this grassy area right here. Get up here in just a second. And we're going to pick an area that's as close to the middle as possible here. And this actually not too bad right there. So we're going to go down to, because unlike the regular mob spawners, these Pokemon spawners don't have any problem being totally encased underground in order to work. So let's get it out. Easiest way to find it here is to go into your search, and we're going to go Pokemon. Oops, it's Pixelmon. My bad. There you go. Pixelmon spawner. So we're going to take that guy, throw it right down there, and we're out of here. So let's put that down in the hole. And right-clicking on it again will allow you to come inside and take a look at what you're doing. So over here, this is normally where we're going to set up what Pokemon get to be on here. And we get to talk about Rarity Location and how often does it spawn out. So if we go to any one of these websites that handle Pokemon information, like there's Cerebi.net, the Bulbasaur, Bulbapedia, it's the Wikipedia for Pokemon, all that stuff, and I'll put a link up here in just a moment so you can take a look at where I'm getting my information. But it lists out what Pokemon show up on what route, and in this particular case, Route 101, we had the Zigzagoon, we had a Wurmple, and I can't remember what the name of the last one. Oh, Poochyena, excuse me, Poochyena. So we had Wurmple, Zigzagoon, and Poochyena. And unfortunately, as you see here, again, Zigzagoon's not in there, and Wurmple's not in there. Unfortunately, the Pixelmon crew for this Minecraft plugin has kind of left Generation 3 behind. And I know that, you know, with the popularity of Omega and Alpha right now, that they're going to start pumping that up as quickly as possible. But at the moment, they've only got a small fraction of what needs to be out there. So for the time being, as we're building this server, we're going to use some suitable Gen 1 replacements, because the whole of Gen 1 is available. So as they become out there, as the Gen 3s start to show up, we are going to switch them out, come back into these little things and switch them out. So what we did is, instead of the Poochyena, we're going to put an EV in there, and we do know that the rarity here is, it spawns about 10% of the time. So once we get that, we can just hit return, or excuse me, add here, and you can see that it shows up EV at 10. And just to show that I'm not totally, see, nothing happens because it doesn't recognize that Pokemon. So the next one we're going to do is we're going to do a Rattata. The Rattata is going to take the place of the Zigzagoon. And it's got a 45% chance of spawning. And then finally, instead of a Wurmple, we're going to get a Caterpie in there. It's also at a 45% chance. So here we can see 45 plus 45 and 10, those all equal up to be 100. Now, these Pokemon spawners, Pixelmon spawners, do not run off this percentage like this. So I could add several more if I wanted to. Oh, let's just put did I spell that right? I did. So I could also put another Whalmer in there at 45. And it really doesn't matter. So what the Pixelmon spawner here does is it takes the ones with the highest thing, and those guys get priority. And so it's kind of put these on in an upper tier, and just mathematically it knows that this is roughly 4 times, 5 times as much as this. So these guys all get an equal chance, and it randomly picks one, and then this one comes out. So it doesn't have to be 100%, but for us and what we're doing, you can easily set it up to be 100%. And you know, the way that those Pokemon websites talk about the spawn rates, it's going to be, you know, simple for you to do that. So to get rid of one that we don't like, we just click on it again, and there it goes. So I'm going to get rid of this because we don't need it anymore. Let's talk about what's over here on the right side. So fire on tick, that means how do we want this Pokemon spawner to go off? And there's 2 ways. Fire on tick means after whatever the number here is, 40 ticks, it's just going to make one. Or you could also have it a fire on a redstone. So you could attach it to a button that only happens when your trapdoor goes off, or your tripwire goes off, or your button, whatever it is. But we want to keep it on fire and tick because out here in the grass, they're going to show up pretty regularly. This is how often, 40 ticks. It's a good number. I'm not going to mess with that. Spawn radius, we are burying in the ground, so remember it needs a 2 to get up there, and then it's going to spread out just a little bit. So this 8 is kind of deceptive the way we're putting it in the ground, but it is high enough for them to get up and a few spaces away from it. That way, you know, it's looking like they're staying in the grass. Max spawns, how many do we want out there? We actually, because we've got the 4 different areas of grass in here, we don't want to overrun with just Pokemon everywhere. So I'm going to reduce this number just a little bit with 4. So after 160 ticks, we should have all 4 of them out there, unless somebody's played with them, kind of thing. So again, getting the information, we know that the min level for this very first one is going to have 2, and the max level we can get out here is a 3. Boss ratio, every once in a great while, Pixelmon decides that it wants a super powered Pokemon to come out. It'll have a slightly different color, and usually it gives you rewards kind of thing, and that's just the way Pixelmon works. It's not part of the Pokemon Hoenn stuff, but it is Pixelmon. So that's what this is, and people seem to enjoy it, so we're not going to mess with that. Boss ratio, pretty high. Aggression, this Pokemon that come out, you can choose to override their natural tendencies. So right now on default, that means like Eevee and Caterpie, not normally aggressive, but Rattata is certainly an aggressive one, which means it would attack you, just like the one that did before. It would initiate a confrontation, while as these guys, you would have to do the initiation. But if you want to, you can make it so they're all timid, that none of them are going to attack you. Or passive means kind of running away thing. Aggressive means all 3 of them would start in a fight, but I'm going to leave it on default. And again, spawn location, depending on where we are, and how high we have this spawn radius going, this can change. For us, because we want them to be right there on the grass, we leave it on land, but we could also put these up in the water, so that Whalmer we saw before can certainly work out. Underground for the caves, and of course we have the bird Pokemon that we can put out later. But we'll leave it on land because that's what this is all about. So we've got that one in there. We need to cover it up. Oops. Uh-oh. Rattata ran over. Oops. I wanted to run away. Okay, the one right here, I'm going to mark with a flower, just so we don't lose it later. When we have to come back and replace those things, as we were just talking about, when we have to replace the Pokemon with the proper one, when they finally give us Wurmple, we want to be able to come in and find where it is without digging up this whole area. So I am marking it with a blue flower there. In fact, let's make it a little bit more variety. Let's give ourselves, say, a daisy here instead of a flower, since we did a blue flower in that other one. There we go. So we got another one. And then we got a Caterpie, and we got the Rattata coming off of this one. Excellent. So that's the way our spawners are going to work. And that way we get to control very closely about what Pokemon are spawning where, which is a big part of the way Pokemon works, right? You gotta get to the right area, get to the right cave, get to the right route to be able to get them. So, quickly, one more time, since this whole route is governed that same way, we're gonna get one more And that's a good middle ground here. And we're going to have Eevee with a 10. And oops, Rattata with 45. Caterpie with a 45. We're changing this down to a 4. This is to a 2. This is to a 3. Actually, let's bump that just one, just in case. We'll be a little bit tricky here. Coming near, this is right before we get to Oldale Town. There we go. There we go. So now we've got those guys set up, and I'm just going to continue that way for the rest of this thing. We're going to bury it one down, so it's definitely out of the way. And if we've got a larger thing of grass, like this one is quite a bit larger, we might want to get in there and pump up that spawn from 8 to maybe a 10. I wouldn't go much more than 12, though, because then it would bleed past the trees and go into the next zones. Alright, I think that's all for today. So again, if you have any questions about what's going on there, see, that's what I'm talking about. Not a terrible thing, but can be a little disturbing. Alright. On behalf of Sugar Packet Gaming, this was Austin Easy. If you have any questions about how these spawner guys work, please leave a question in the comments. I'll be happy to answer them. Next time, we're going to get into a little bit more about trainers. On Route 101 here, we didn't have specific trainers, but on the next one, after we get through Oldale Town on our way to Petalburg, that route is certainly going to have our first trainer, and just above Oldale Town is where we're going to meet the rival for the first time. So again, we have another trainer with very specific Pokemon and how to deal with that, and be happy to talk about it. So next time, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button so you can tune in and figure out how to get those trainers running. Thanks.